All right. Well, hello and welcome everyone to our second week of the Salamander V65 release training series. Yesterday we covered the new Tier 1 Federal National Personnel Qualification Set. Hopefully some of you are on that. If not, we have another opportunity next week. Today we will be focusing on the new roster tile and the creation of collections capability in SalamanderLive. So it's a smaller group today. Let me see here. There are 2, 4, 6, 8 of you on today. So feel free to ask questions during the training. You can either unmute yourself to ask, or you can send a message through the chat option as well. So either way works. But feel free to ask questions, make comments throughout the training. All right, so let's go ahead and start on the roster tile. So the roster tile, this is brand new, and this can be found by going to an events dashboard in SalamanderLive. So when we look at the roster tile, there's really two main purposes for this. One, it provides a snapshot of all the people who have checked into the event. So what you see here when you go to the roster tile, everybody that's in here is basically everybody that's checked in. So anybody that has not checked in will not appear on this roster tile. Secondly, what it does is it allows administrators to manually edit the last checked-in date, the time, and the assignment for people that have checked in. So again, you can only edit anybody that has checked in. So again, anybody that appears within the roster tile. So a couple of things to note here is that the roster tile, it's going to be visible to all SalamanderLive users who have the events management permissions. So that basically means anybody that is a administrator, administrator no security, org admin, and inventory management, so those roles. However, only users with an administrator level access is going to have the ability to edit people's times in the roster tile. So again, when we're looking at events management permission versus administrator level permission, those are a little bit different. So administrator level access, there's actually 3 of them. So there's administrator, administrator no security, and org admin no security. So those are the 3. All right, so I'm going to walk through the presentation, a couple slides on here, and then I'll show you guys a quick demo within SalamanderLive so you can see it in action. So editing a person's time it's really easy actually. What you're going to need to do is just simply click the checkbox next to the person's name. So you'll see on here in my example. And then what that's going to do is going to activate this plus icon. So that plus icon is going to be there, but it's actually grayed out until you click that checkbox. When you click that checkbox, it's going to activate that. Again, if you don't have the proper permissions, this checkbox will not activate. If you try to hover over it, it's going to show a circle with a line through that. Also to note on here is that you can only do one edit at a time. So if you want, like for example, we're going to edit Brenda Landville's times and or assignment or date on here, we'd have to finish hers and we can move on to the next person. So once you click on that plus icon, what's going to happen is it's going to open up this manual log entry form. So this is a pop-up window that opens up. So at the top of the form, you're going to see the person's ID, their first and last name, and the name of their organization. And then from there, what you're going to do is you're going to enter in the required information. So required information includes the date, the time. So this, again, you're going to want to put in regular time. Military time is not yet supported in this actual field. Select AM or PM, and then select the assignment. Now, the assignments that are listed in this drop-down, when you click on it, is going to be pulled from the actual event that this person is currently in. Some things to note with this required section right here is that if you're only needing to edit the time, you're still needing to enter in the date, and you're still needing to select that assignment. Likewise, if you're only needing to change that assignment, you still have to put the date and time in. So what we recommend you doing is to pull up the person activity report so that you have the information to reference to, and so that you can avoid making any errors, because that a person activity report is going to show this information, what they're currently in at the moment. And that's going to really help you out in saying, okay, if that's the time that you need to edit, let's say that person forgot to check out, and so they checked out late, and you want to change that to a earlier checkout time, you can go back to report and say, okay, this is the current time that they were checked out. This is the time we want to change it to. So at least you can put in the correct date and the correct assignment on that. Once you're done with that information, you want to make sure you click that I understand box. So this, again, is just letting you know that you understand by clicking submit. Whatever changes you make on this can't be undone, meaning that this change right here cannot be undone. So the moment that this happens, it's going to record that into any of the person activity reports, event logs, things like that. So that's what it's saying that it cannot be changed. However, if you make a mistake, you can always go back into that person's, click on that person's name again, and then edit the time or the date or the assignment again. In that case, you're going to have two different activities for that change. Any questions? I do hear some background noise on here. If you haven't done so, please mute yourself. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and go into Salamander Live. So let me just pull up Salamander Live here. So here's Salamander Live. The site that you want to use is version 2. So any new features, new functionality, updates that we do to Salamander Live will only be done in version 2. So this is the login page for version 2. I know there's still a lot of agencies out there that are still using version 1, but you'll want to start converting over to version 2 to get and be able to use all the new features. So let me log in really quick here. So once you're in here, what you're going to do is you're going to click Events, same as if you're going to go in and look at the Events dashboard. So the event that we're going to take a look at is going to be, let's see, this event right here, so this track app, since it's the next one that's not ended. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to access the Events dashboard. So you'll see in my dashboard, I see roster here first. Now yours is going to be laid out a little bit different based off of how you have your event dashboard laid out. The roster tile by default is not going to be hidden. It's going to be placed automatically on your dashboard. It just may be at the bottom, so you'll have to scroll down through your list to try to find where it is, and then you can move it where you want it to go. So I just put mine at the top here for easy access. So you'll see on here, this is the list of everybody that has checked in so far to this event. If I scroll down to the bottom, it says that there are 11 people, so you'll see there's a navigation page that you can go to the next page to see who else has checked in so far. Obviously, you have the ability to change this view to from 5, 10, and 30 to have them all viewed on the same page. All right, so in here, what we're going to do is we're going to go into that manual log entry form. So let's take a look at Brian Armstrong here. So Brian Armstrong, actually, you know what? Let's take a look at Gina. So Gina checked in at 2/05/2021. So we're going to pull up this report. So you're going to go up here to the top. We're just going to have this on handy so that we can take a look and verify that there's no other assignments this person has been in. And of course, so that we have the correct last check-in date and time, just in case if the edits we make is going to change that. So I'm going to pull this up, maximize this. I'll make this bigger so you guys can see on your end here. So there's Gina. So Gina checked in, so that's her only assignment. So she checked in at on February 5th at 12:56, almost at 1 o'clock. So let's say that, you know, she checked in and she was actually moved to floor security, but there was a missed checked-in. So we need to add that check-in in here. So what you could do in here is you can go to her actual record, click the checkbox next to her name for Gina. We're going to click the plus icon. Again, this is going to activate that. Again, if you don't have the permissions, this will not allow you to click this button. It won't even be highlighted. So we click on that, which is going to open the manual log entry form. And in there, we're going to put in the date. So in this date, it's actually 2/05/2021. The time, so we can go back on here. So the time that she checked in originally, so this is her last checked-in time. So it's at 1 o'clock, so which was put into the checked-in assignment. However, she only stayed there for an hour, and she had checked into floor security at 2 p.m. So on here, I'm going to put in here 2 p.m., change that to p.m., and we're going to move that into floor security. So that's the assignment we're going to select. So you see on here, these are all the assignments that are pulled directly from this event that's active. Select floor security, click the I understand box, which is going to activate that save button. Click save. Once it's saved, you'll see that this is going to change. So it's going to change her to the floor security as her last checked-in time, which is at 2 p.m. on February 5th. Now, there are some things I want to note on here is that if you change it to the last check-in time, which is later than the actual check-in time that's listed here, it's going to change immediately on this roster tile, since this roster tile only shows their last checked-in time. However, for example, if this person was supposed to be off, this person actually checked in at the wrong time. So they checked in late on here. It says 12:55 p.m., but it was actually supposed to be 12:45. Since that's a later check-in time, it's not going to reflect on here. It's going to reflect on reports, but it's not going to reflect on the actual roster tile, since 12:55 is the later time. So in this case, if we look on here, we go to her name. What was her name again? Molly Ledbetter. So Molly Ledbetter, here she is, Ledbetter. So 2/5/12:55, so it should be 12:45. So in this case, I can go into this person. I can click the checkbox again. She's in the operations. So I'm going to put the time, the date again for the same date. The time, though, I'm going to put 12:45 p.m. The same assignment. So this is, she just forgot to check in at 12:45, and so they just checked her in at 12:55. You're going to make this change, click save, and you'll notice it's not going to make that change on here, but if we pull the report, I'm going to close out this older report, pull up the report, it's going to show her time of 12:45. It's bigger. Move this over. Here she is, Ledbetter, and you'll see here time in, same time, but at 12:45. You see that? So that change does reflect on the reports, but it's not going to reflect in the roster tile since this is her last checked-in time, which is 12:55. So this is still going to report on here. Okay? So this can be used in multiple different ways. Again, it's just to edit times, but if people forget to check in, you can add those times in here, which will reflect in the reports. If they checked in incorrectly, you can fix that with the roster tile. I mean, it wasn't really built for that, but you can do that in here. If there's missed checkout times, if they were supposed to go off scene, but they're still on scene, you can go in here and change their times. So this ability is actually extremely beneficial for when you're running events and you're running multiple operational periods for an event where this is going on for multiple days. Even if it's just one day, it's extremely beneficial to have. But just pulling out that report, so at least you have something to reference back to make sure you're not making any mistakes in here. All right, so any questions on this roster tile? No questions? There's one last thing I want to show you guys on here, which is the event log. So the event log on here, I don't know if you guys have looked at this report before, but this event log works very similar to the log report that's within Command. If you're familiar with Command, there is a second tab on there that records all the activity for that event. So this report works exactly in the same fashion. So records everything that happens with your event. So in this case, with these manual ads, let me just make this so it's bigger. You'll see on here that these manual ads are added right here. So you'll see manual ad, or a manual change, so Molly Ledbetter to operations. So it says user move responder. So this is a change that was happened in the system on here, okay? And I know you see that there's two actual logs on here. So this is an actual bug that we just found, and we do have a fix for this, which is right now going to be pushed out fairly soon. So you won't see this additional log on here to show that there's an additional move on here. So you should only see one. But that's that move right there. We should also see another one. So you can see on here, Molly Ledbetter to operations. That's her original one at 12:55, and then that manual move to 12:45. And then we should see another one on here for Gina to for security. And there it is. So that string right there lets you know it was a manual edit that was done within the roster tile. Okay. Any questions? All right. No questions? Fairly simple. Okay, well, let's move on to the next piece on here, which is collections. Let me put this presentation back up. All right. So the collections feature. So there's actually a couple phases with this feature, and with phase one, which is today, what you're given is some basic functionality, such as creating the collection and then adding resources to that collection. So that's what you can do today. In phase two, there's going to be some changes to make the collections more functional by giving you the ability to, let's say, print ID tags for the collection and to download the collection into an event within the Track app and more. So there's a bunch of more functionality that's coming with this feature. Now, as we get closer to releasing this next phase, we'll make sure to get you more information. Just keep your eyes out on the bulletins that we send out on a monthly basis, and as well as any other Salamander notifications that comes out. We'll make sure to inform you all when that's coming. Now, when we take a look at the collections and the profile, you're going to see that there's the collection name. So here's the name of the collection ID, the organization that collection belongs to, NIMS type, the designation, kind, and you'll see that there's this is active option. So when you're creating a collection, it's going to have you either mark if this is true, meaning it's active, or it's not. And that's really going to phase into that ability to download the collection into an event through the Track app. So that, again, is coming if you want to kind of prep for that ahead of time, and these are actual collections that you want to be able to download in future events. Mark all of them as true when you're creating these. And then you'll see that there's this last field called cost by hour. So the cost by hour is going to basically calculate the hourly rate of all equipment and people added to that collection. So it really calculates similarly to the burn down and the cost reports, if you're familiar with seeing those, knowing how those calculate costs. So the field's going to look at both the standard rate saved in the record and the default rate that's set on the account when calculating the total. So I'm going to show you where you can find that, that account rate and how to set that up. Now, if the person or equipment record does not have a standard hourly rate entered, the cost by hour field is going to use the account rate in the calculations. Now, if there is no individual or no account rate available, then it's going to calculate 0 for that resource. Now, keep in mind when I say hourly, because as you know, with this release that we did in December, that field for equipment does calculate costs for hourly and day, but that's only for the cost reports. But for the collections, it only is going to calculate cost by hour. So meaning that only hourly rates for equipment. If you have any that's day in there, it's not going to calculate anything for that. All right, so let's take a look at Salamander Live here. Let me pull this down real quick. Okay, so Salamander Live you'll notice in your left menu that there's going to be this third option for you to look at your collections database. So again, this is going to be available to anybody that has access to Salamander Live and has the ability to manage data. So you click on collections. If you haven't built any yet, yours is going to be blank. If you have some in there, you'll see some samples that we just built in here. You'll see the setup is exactly the same as any of the other databases in here with people, equipment, same setup. So you've got your different columns in here with information. You got the plus, and then you have your edit columns. You'll notice that there's some information in here with like tag expiration date, issue dates, and things like that. That's being set up for that feature release for when you're able to print ID tags out. All right, so to add a new collection, all you're going to do is same as what you're going to do to add a person or add equipment in here or add inventory. So you're going to click that plus button. Once you do that, it's going to open up the collection details window. This is that button I was telling you about, whether or not this collection is an active collection. If yes, just mark that as is active. And again, that's going to be for future functionality for that to be able to be pulled down into the track app. So you've got 4 pieces of required information on here. So again, name of the collection. I'm just going to create a Salamander Team 5. So the ID, again, you can put whatever you want in here for the ID number. Just make sure that it's unique for each collection that you create. So Sal Team 5. The organization. This organization field works like any of the organization fields with our other forms. As you start typing, it's going to pull up all organizations that start with S or whatever you entered into that field. So I'm going to put this for Sal Live Training. NIMS type, if there's a NIMS type with this collection, you can select that. If not, just type in none. Or if it's something else, you can put other in here. And then the designation. You'll notice that these fields right here are very similar to the fields that you'll find within the tag app, within Rapid Tag, and within Command, because those are the other 3 locations, other 3 solutions that you can create collections in. And traditionally, that's where we've been building collections anyways, but we want to make that readily available for you to pre-credential within Salamander Live. So designation on here, we're just mark this as a team, so there's a drop-down on here. And then the kind, what kind of a team is this? So you can go in here and select whatever it is that you want. I'm going to put on here that this is a truck. And then click Save. Once you click Save, it's like any of the other ones. It's going to take you into that profile. So this is the profile of the collection. You see all that same information at the top here. If you want to edit any of this information, you can just click on either the profile header or you can click the Edit Pencil icon. And that's going to allow you to edit that information as needed. So the cost by hour right now is 0 because we haven't added any resources yet. But once we start adding people and equipment, you'll notice that this is going to start calculating. So how do you add people and equipment? Simply just click on the Add People option. So you can just click on that link. It's going to open up this details window. So you got 2 options on here. You can either search, kind of search through, go through your entire list. So this is pulling from your people list, this list right here. So your people database and only the people that you as your user has access to. So it's going to pull everybody in alphabetical order. So you can go in there and you can select your people. So I'm going to select Carl Bell and Cameron Beard. So as you start selecting people, you'll notice that it's adding it to this selected section down here. So this kind of works like a cart. You're basically creating your cart. So if you want to remove someone, like for example, I made a mistake, Cameron Beard is not supposed to be in here, I can click his name right here, and it's going to remove him from my cart. And I can go back in here and add whoever I want added in here. So I'm going to add in Dexter. So you just keep going, and you can add your people. So that's one way of doing it. I'll show you how you can search for someone on the equipment side. Same process. Either scroll through, or you can use the search function at the top. Once you have all your people, simply click Add. So you'll see on here, cost by hour has now gone up to $115 for this collection, for these 3 people. So you can see on here, there's that little caret. If you click on that caret, it's going to expand that section. So you'll see there's 3 people in here. You got Carl Bell, their ID number, Daniel Bishop's ID number, and Dexter Best's ID number. If you make a mistake and you want to remove someone on here, you can just click the X right here to remove that person. You also have the ability to mark someone as a leader. As you know, within Command and Rapid Tag, you have the same ability to mark someone as the leader of the team or the group. Same thing in here. You can just click on that checkbox and it just marks that person as that leader. Now, to add equipment, simply click on the Add Equipment section. So just click on that. Again, you have your same option. You can scroll through, find the equipment you want to add in. One thing to note on this equipment details window is that this is only pulling your non-consumable items. Okay, so only fixed assets will pull up in this details window. Any items that you have marked as consumable will not be listed here. That was done for a purpose. Normally, a consumable item is not going to be part of a collection since those are going to be made to be used up. You probably want to use the inventory app to issue those consumable items to that specific collection or to those people individually. So I'm going to use a search function this time instead of scrolling through. So in this case, I'm going to type in truck. Once I type in truck, it's going to find any of my items in here that start or have truck in its name. So on here, I see Moosewood truck number 1. I'm going to select that one on there. You'll see on here, I've added it to my cart. I can go in here, I can select something else by typing something else in there. So trailer, if I click on trailer, I'm going to add this 103 trailer in here. So you can continue to do the exact same thing. You can delete it if you make a mistake. If you want to add other things, just keep searching. The one thing with this details window when you're searching is that once you start searching, you do have to complete that search. If you try to delete on here, it's not going. Your list is going to disappear. So you have to continue doing a search versus now it's not going to list your entire list, equipment list anymore. So you realize that's a bug. Sent that over already to our development team for them to take a look at for that. So right here we've got our 2. So we've got our 2 items we're going to add. We're going to click Add. Same thing, it's going to add it to that cost by hour. So $197's gone up. So if I click down to expand the 2 equipment records, it's going to show Moosewood truck number 1 and equipment trailer. So you'll see that there's some differences on here. You'll see that the name on here included the ID number. These ones did not. So again, that's coming with our next release as well too, is to include more information for each of the records that you're selecting to be a part of that collection. Okay. So it didn't move up by much. I mean, we were at $115 and it went to $97. So it really depends on whether or not these equipment right here had hourly, daily, or no rate. So one thing to look on here, and I know I talked about this, how you can go in and set up an account default rate, but this account default rate is going to be available under settings and then account. Now, if you are not an administrator for the parent organization, you're not going to see this option right here. Even if you're an administrator, but if you're an administrator for a child organization, you will not have this option. This settings option is only it's saved for the account holder. So anybody at the parent level set up as administrators will be able to go in here and change that. Once they change it, that's going to change for all, and it's going to trickle down and span down to all the organizations that's underneath that parent umbrella. I'm going to click on the account. So you'll see in here, I just put in some default cost rates in here. So this is what it's calculating, $35 for people. So if they don't have a rate on their personnel record, that's what it's using is $35. And then same thing for equipment. If they don't have an hourly rate on there, it's going to use this. So equipment, $41. Now this right here, this default rate also works for the burn down and also works for the cost reports for the event. So it's not just that cost by hour for the collection, but for all the other features that use this cost information. Okay. Any questions on this? You'll see here, there's my team 5. So I can go in here, I can reorganize this anyway if I want to. Any questions on collections, how to create them? No questions? All right. I know this is a shorter training. We wanted to give the opportunity for you guys to really allow us to dive deep into each of these different new features, since we kind of did just a high level in December and in January. So we wanted to provide you guys at least a deeper dive into each of these and to see it in action. So if you guys don't have any questions right now, but if you start to go in there and start playing around and creating some collections and editing of times, and you do run into any questions, please feel free to contact us. Let me put my contact information here. So you want to contact us at training@salamanderlive.com. So send us an email. If you are working with a local sales rep, you can also email them as well too. I know that your local sales reps are readily accessible and available to answer any questions that you guys may have as well. So feel free to reach out with questions, feedback, comments. Let us know how it's working. We'd love to hear it. Other than that, if you guys have some time tomorrow, come back and join me as I go through the new pin join feature. That one's going to be a longer training. That one's going to probably take the full hour versus today was just 30 minutes. But please come back and join me. If you can't join tomorrow, there's still more opportunities next week as well too. So next week's our last week that we're going to be running this series. So again, it's going to be Tuesday, Tier 1 qualification. Wednesday, we're going to go through roster and collection again. And then next week, Thursday, will be pin join again. So you have a couple more opportunities next week if you missed any of the trainings that we did in the last 2 weeks. All right. Other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you guys tomorrow or next week again. Thank you guys all so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.